If you're seeing a Framer motion hydration error or a fail to load canvas message in Framer, don't worry, this is usually caused by a mismatch between what the server renders and what the browser renders on the first load. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to fix it step by step in a simple way, even if you're not deeply technical. Before we begin, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more quick software tutorials just like this. It really helps the channel and lets you know when new fixes and guides are posted. Alright, let's jump in. First, open your project in Framer. Once your project is loaded, the main thing you want to check is whether you're using any values that change every time the page loads. Common examples are things like Math.random or Date.now. These are dynamic values, and they often cause hydration issues because the server generates one result, but the browser generates a different one. If you're using something like that directly in your component render, that's where the problem usually starts. Instead of running that logic during the initial render, move it inside useEffect. The reason is simple. useEffect only runs after the component has loaded in the browser, so it prevents the server and client from showing different content at the same time. So if your code is generating a random number, current time, or any other changing value, take that logic out of the main render path and place it inside useEffect or another client-only approach. Then store the result in state and display it after load. Next, make sure the server and client render the same initial content. This is one of the most important parts of fixing hydration errors. When Framer loads the page, the first HTML that comes from the server should match what React expects on the client. If the text, layout, or structure is different, you can get a hydration mismatch. A good way to think about this is to keep your initial output stable. Use the same default values on both sides and only update the content after the page has mounted. That way, Framer doesn't try to compare two different versions of the same component. Another thing to avoid is conditional rendering that changes on the first load. For example, if you're showing one component on the server and a different component in the browser before the page finishes loading, that can trigger the error too. If you need conditional logic, try to make sure it doesn't affect the very first render or delay it until after mount. If the issue is happening in a custom code component, double check any props, states, or browser-only APIs you're using. Things like window, document, local storage, or current time values can also cause problems if they're used too early. In that case, wrap them so they only run on the client after the component has loaded. After making those changes, save your project and refresh the preview. In many cases, the fail to load canvas message disappears as soon as the render output becomes consistent. If it's still happening, go back and look for any remaining dynamic values or conditional blocks that could behave differently between server and client. So the simple formula is this: keep the first render consistent, move dynamic logic into useEffect, and avoid changing content before the page has mounted. That's the safest way to fix a Framer motion hydration error and get your canvas loading properly again. If this video helped, please hit like and subscribe for more Framer, web design, and software troubleshooting tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.